Have you ever, like, stared at that really expensive bottle of multivitamins, the one promising, peak performance, and then wondered if maybe you're just swallowing a daily dose of, I don't know, really fancy compacted chalk?
Oh, definitely. We've all been there, right? Trying to do the right thing for our health.
Yeah, investing in ourselves. But it turns out there's this kind of secret sabotage happening right inside our own body, sometimes even on the ingredient label itself.
Uh-huh.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into all the reasons, chemical, biological, even, well, regulatory, why those little pills and capsules might just be sailing right through your system.
Without leaving much benefit behind.
Exactly. It's sort of a tragedy of wasted effort and, frankly, expensive pee.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The mission, as I see it, is figuring out why our bodies, our biochemistry, needs something like 180 specific nutrients just to run smoothly.
Wow, 180.
Yeah, roughly. And yet actually getting those nutrients, even when we try supplementing, it's often harder than, I don't know, finding a quiet spot in a busy coffee shop.
Huh. Good luck with that.
Right. So we're diving deep into these, crucial blind spots. The stuff you probably won't find mentioned on a slick supplement website.
Like what?
Everything from, say, failures in your digestive system right at the start to some really weird regulatory math that it doesn't seem to add up.
Okay, this is where we start digging in. Because we hear all the time, oh, just get everything from food. But honestly, even if you eat perfectly.
Which is hard enough.
Right. Modern diets, soil quality, it's incredibly difficult to get therapeutic amounts of the really key players, like vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, niacin. So naturally, we turn to the pill bottle, only to smack right into the first big wall. A mechanical one, really. Absorption.
Exactly. That's the first major hurdle. And absorption is supposed to be, well, pretty intense. It starts right in the stomach.
The stomach.
Yeah. If you don't have enough really strong stomach acid, and honestly, a surprising number of people don't, you just can't physically break stuff down properly.
That's like minerals.
Minerals especially, yeah. You won't absorb them efficiently at all. Think of your stomach. It's not supposed to be like a gentle washing machine.
Okay.
It should be more like a pressure cooker. Or maybe even a chemical refinery. It needs that powerful acid to basically dissolve everything into this tiny, usable sludge for your intestines.
Sludge sounds appealing.
Ha! Well, biologically useful sludge.
Wow.
But if your stomach is more like a lukewarm bath, forget it. Minerals like calcium, zinc, they just won't dissolve properly.
And what about vitamins?
Well, take vitamin B12. It's usually locked up tight with protein, especially in meat. Without that strong acid, you can't even free it up to be used later on. It just passes straight through. Undigested, unused.
So what's the clue then?
Yeah.
How do you know if your stomach's being, as you put it, a diva? Because most people think heartburn means too much acid, don't they?
That's a huge misunderstanding. Often the biggest clue that your stomach acid is too low is actually chronic heartburn or indigestion. It seems counterintuitive, I know.
How does that work?
Well, if the acid isn't strong enough, that little valve at the top of your stomach, it doesn't get the signal to close tightly, so you get sputtering, backwash.
Ah, the reflux feeling.
Exactly, which feels like too much acid burning its way up, but the root cause is often too little acid failing to trigger the valve closure. Plus, low acid can lead to other problems like bad bacteria setting up shop in your small intestine, which messes up nutrient transfer even more.
Okay, that makes a surprising amount of sense. So let's say we fix the gut, hypothetically. We still have to look at the pill itself, right? The chemistry of it. Let's talk synthetic imposters.
Yes. Because supplements aren't just generic blobs called vitamin C or whatever. They're specific chemical structures.
And the synthetic ones.
They often just don't absorb or function quite as well as the forms you'd find naturally in food.
Which raises the question, why do manufacturers isolate these nutrients in the first place? You're saying in nature, they come in complexes.
Precisely. Nutrients rarely fly solo in nature. They usually show up with their, let's call them wingmen, other compounds that help them work. Taking a single isolated nutrient is actually, it's profoundly unnatural.
And it can cause problems.
It absolutely can throw off the balance of your whole system. We have a really critical example. Taking too much isolated vitamin D, especially those massive megadoses you sometimes see.
Yeah, what happens?
It can actually create a magnesium deficiency.
How?
Because magnesium is what we call a critical cofactor. It's like a necessary helper molecule in the whole process of converting vitamin D into its active, usable form in the body.
Well.
So if you flood your system with tons of vitamin D, You basically burn through your magnesium reserves really fast trying to process it all, and boom, new deficiency problem.
Wow. Okay, so we really have to become ingredient detectives then.
You're right.
We need to recognize the specific chemical names on the label. This gets technical, but it sounds crucial.
It is. Absolutely critical.
Let's talk about the active form rules. What should we look for with, say, B vitamins? They seem complicated.
Okay, vitamin B9 is a big one. You really want to skip the synthetic form called folic acid.
Why? It's in everything fortified.
It is, but folic acid needs a specific enzyme pathway in your liver to convert it into the form your body can actually use. And that pathway, it can be really sluggish for a lot of people. Some even have genetic variations making it super inefficient.
So the active form bypasses that.
Exactly. You want to look for the active form, which is called folate, sometimes listed as methylfolate. It skips that whole conversion bottleneck.
Got it. And B12, that's another common one people are low in.
Same story. You want to skip the common synthetic form, cyanocobalamin.
Cyano, like cyanide.
Well, yeah, the name gives you a big clue. It actually contains a tiny cyanide molecule. It's minute, sure, but your body still has to detach it and detoxify it before it can even use the B12 part.
Sounds inefficient.
It is. If you actually want results, you need the natural, ready-to-go form, methylcobalamin. These small chemical tweaks, they really make the difference between paying for a supplement and just paying for expensive waste.
And this confusion about active forms, it pops up everywhere, right? Like with plant-based nutrients people rave about. Omega-3s from walnuts or flax.
Oh yeah, big confusion there. People think eating walnuts or flax gets them the active omega-3s, EPA, and DHA. But those plant sources, they only contain ALA,
Which is
a precursor. Your body has to convert ALA into EPA and DHA. And that conversion process, it's notoriously difficult and highly inefficient for most people.
So for the real benefit.
You need direct sources. Things like fish oil or cod liver oil, that's where you get the EPA and DHA ready-made.
Same logic applies to vitamin A then. Eating tons of carrots isn't enough.
Not for therapeutic levels, no. Carrots give you beta-carotene, another precursor. Your body has to convert that into the active form, which is retinol.
And where do we get retinol directly?
Animal sources are best. Things like egg yolks, liver, cod liver oil. If your supplement label just says beta-carotene, remember, you're taking the precursor, not the active nutrient your body might be struggling to make.
Okay, this is making my head spin a bit, but it's crucial stuff. Now, what about the other stuff in the pill? The junk. You mentioned fillers and binders.
Right, we have to talk about those. Let's look at the ingredients list beyond the main vitamins. A huge number of supplements contain fillers like maltodextrin.
Maltodextrin? Isn't that basically a sugar, a starch?
Yep, essentially a starchy sugar.
Why on earth would they put sugar in a health pill?
Well, manufacturers use it because it's a really cheap and efficient spray drying agent. It helps turn sticky ingredients into a fine powder so they can measure it accurately and get it into a capsule easily.
Okay, production reasons. But does it affect us?
Oh, absolutely. Now, here's the kind of comedic or maybe tragic touch. Maltodextrin can actually compete with vitamin C for absorption.
Seriously?
Yeah, but the real punchline is that it drastically depletes vitamin B1, thiamine.
Why is that bad?
Because B1 is absolutely essential for breaking down sugars and refined carbs. So the filler in your expensive health pill is actively fighting against you, potentially blocking vitamin C, and draining one of your most critical B vitamins just so you can swallow it.
That is wow, just wow. Okay, so what does this mean when I pick up that giant, heavy bottle of multivitamins? The one that feels like a brick.
Look at the very first ingredient listed. Often it's the bulk of the pill. If that first ingredient says calcium carbonate,
Yeah.
you're basically taking limestone, chalk.
Chalk.
That's why those multivitamins can feel like a paperweight. The main ingredient, the bulk of it, is often just cheap, poorly absorbed chalk. Your body really struggles to get much calcium out of that form.
So it's not just inactive, it's barely usable.
Pretty much. And even if you manage to find a supplement with clean ingredients, good forms, you still face this competition alert inside your own gut.
What do you mean?
Well, take two essential minerals like calcium and magnesium. If you take them at the exact same time in the same pill, it can kind of cancel each other out. They compete fiercely for the same absorption pathways in your intestines. So, taking them together often means you absorb less of both. Timing matters, form matters, isolation matters. It's complicated.
Okay, we absolutely need to address the elephant in the room here. the thing hovering over this whole discussion.
Which is?
Diet.
Yeah.
You can't expect supplements to work like some magic get-out-of-jail-free card if you're eating junk all day, can you?
Absolutely not. Supplements definitely do not have veto power over poor nutrition. That's a fundamental point.
The foundation has to be there first.
Exactly. And connecting this to the bigger picture. If you have issues like insulin resistance, prediabetes, or even full-blown diabetes, your cell's ability to absorb any nutrient, even the perfect form in a pill, is already severely compromised.
Why is that?
Think of it like the cell doors are sticky or jammed. Insulin resistance means your cells aren't responding properly to insulin, which helps usher nutrients in. So fixing that underlying insulin resistance, often with dietary changes like, say, a low-carb approach, is really the absolute prerequisite before supplements can even hope to be effective.
Makes sense. And beyond insulin, other lifestyle choices can just torpedo your efforts.
Yeah, for sure. Things like smoking or heavy alcohol consumption, they significantly drain your nutrient reserves.
How does alcohol do that?
Well, alcohol, for instance, rapidly depletes key nutrients like B vitamins and magnesium. It also puts a huge strain on your liver's detoxification pathways, which rely heavily on compounds like glutathione, which itself needs nutrient building blocks.
So you're pouring nutrients in with a pill while your lifestyle is actively draining them out faster.
Precisely. If you're doing that, you're basically just funding expensive urine. You're wasting your money.
Okay, now let's get to what sounds like the most controversial part of this whole thing, the dosage conspiracy.
Ah, yes. The recommended daily allowance, the RDA.
Specifically for something like vitamin D3. The official RDA is currently around, what, 600 international units?
Yeah, around 600 IU. And honestly, among people who really study nutritional biochemistry, that number is widely considered, well, ridiculous is a word often used.
Ridiculously low.
Incredibly low. And what's really fascinating, or maybe disturbing, depending on your view, is the suggestion that this low number might not have been just a simple calculation error.
What else could it be?
The argument is that it might have been set low intentionally, perhaps to make higher, more therapeutically effective amounts sound dangerous or toxic to the general public.
Why would they do that?
Well, think about it. A dose like 10,000 IU sounds terrifyingly high compared to 600 IU, right?
Yeah, it sounds like an overdose.
But physiologically, 10,000 IU is roughly the amount of vitamin D your body can naturally generate from just 20 to 30 minutes of midday summer sun exposure on reasonable skin area, like wearing shorts and a t-shirt, something your body does routinely without any issue.
Huh. I never thought of it like that. But intentional is a strong claim against official recommendations. Is there any evidence for this idea, or is it just speculation?
Well, the claim refers back to analysis of the original research studies used to set that RDA. The argument is that when the statistical methods in those studies were reanalyzed and corrected for errors, the calculated dosage needed to cover most of the population should have been closer to 8,895 IU. Not 600.
Almost 9,000 instead of 600. That's a massive difference.
It's huge. So the claim is maybe keeping the official number low, just maintain the status quo, avoided panic about high-dose supplements, I don't know. But if you've been dutifully taking your 600 IU for years and felt absolutely no difference, well, maybe now you know why. You were effectively microdosing.
And that low RDA becomes even more problematic if someone has a chronic illness, right?
Yeah.
Where you actually need a bigger push.
Absolutely. For maintenance in healthy people, maybe those low doses prevent outright deficiency diseases like rickets. But if you're dealing with a chronic condition, small amounts are often completely useless. You need therapeutic doses to actually force a metabolic shift or support repair.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take something like diabetic peripheral neuropathy, that awful tingling, burning, dying sensation in the nerves, usually in the feet.
Yeah.
Tiny amounts of standard vitamin B1 just won't touch it. To create real change, research suggests you need large therapeutic doses of a special fat-soluble form of B1 called benfotiamine. It gets into the nerve cells much more effectively. If your goal is actual repair, not just ticking a box, you often need to go big or go home, dosage-wise.
Okay. And finally, just to really hammer home how disconnected some standard supplement dosages are from our actual needs, let's talk about the potassium problem.
Ah, the potassium absurdity. Yeah.
It's kind of funny in a sad way.
It really is. So a typical potassium supplement you buy over the counter, mainly due to regulatory restrictions on single-dose pill amounts to prevent accidental overdose. It offers 99 milligrams.
99 milligrams. Okay. Seems small.
It is. Now look up the actual daily requirement for potassium for an adult. It's somewhere around 4,700 milligrams.
4,700
Yeah.
compared to 99.
Yep. So to hit your daily potassium requirement using those standard 99 milligram pills, you would need to swallow over 47 of them every single day.
47 pills just for potassium. Can you imagine trying to do that?
It's completely impractical. So if you're taking just one of those 99 milligram pills a day, thinking you're covering your potassium needs, don't expect any noticeable change. The gap between the pill and the actual physiological need is just enormous. It perfectly highlights how pointless some standard supplement dosages can be.
Wow. Okay, so we successfully navigated this minefield, haven't we? Absorption failures, synthetic imposters, sneaky fillers, chalk, competition, and these suspiciously low dosage claims.
We've covered a lot of ground.
It really seems like getting properly nourished from supplements is way less about just blindly grabbing a bottle and popping a pill.
And more about being a detective.
Yeah. Checking the form of the nutrient, checking the other ingredients it keeps company with, questioning the math behind the dosage.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? How many different factors actually dictate the fate of that capsule you just swallowed. External things like how acidic your stomach is, what your overall diet looks like, how sensitive your cells are to insulin.
And internal things within the supplement itself, like whether nutrients are isolated, whether they compete with each other, or even whether the fillers demand extra nutrients just to be processed.
Exactly. When you look at all those hurdles, it honestly feels like a bit of a miracle if anything beneficial reliably gets through, unless all those conditions are pretty well optimized.
So maybe before you grab that next bottle and spend another small fortune, the question to ask yourself is this supplement actually designed in its best form to work efficiently with my body's biochemistry? Or am I just feeding my trash can or maybe my toilet really expensive limestone and calling it a health regimen?
That puts it bluntly. And maybe a final provocative thought for everyone listening. If the official dosage recommendations for something as fundamental and well-researched as vitamin D were potentially miscalculated or perhaps even misrepresented by a factor of over 1,400%,
Yeah.
what else on those supplement labels or even our dietary guidelines should we maybe be questioning and double-checking for ourselves?